Hey everyone, welcome to Mystifying Miracles. Glad you're here. The story today involves a miraculous healing of a woman who was blind for 38 years. This true story took place in New York, and it involves a woman who had been blind in both eyes for 38 years. And she happened to be standing in line to receive prayer at a church in New York. In line with her were about 500 other people. And that day, it just so happened the ushers led up this blind woman to the front to the pastor at first in line. Now, the pastor, his name was Pastor Schambach. The lady tells him what she needs, kind of brief. He prays over her, and after Pastor Schambach prays over the woman, he tells her, "It is done. You're healed." And get this woman answers back. She says, "No, I'm not." Well, what's the pastor to do? So you can kind of picture this. He's trying to be kind and kind of move her along because she was first in front of 500 people. There was a lot of other people to pray for, right? So he kind of kindly, come on now. And this woman, she would not move. And she tells Pastor Schambach, she says, quote, "You didn't do what God told me to tell you to do." And the woman then said, "I'm not going to leave until you do it." So what was the pastor to do? So he asks her, "Well, what are you supposed to tell me to do?" And she tells him, "God told me to tell you to spit in my eyes." Again, you can imagine the look on this pastor's face. He's like thinking, what? He flat out refused. And then he begins going into how unsanitary that is. That's just crazy. I'm not doing that. Well, this woman was firm. And once again, she stood her ground and said she wasn't leaving until it was done, because she said God specifically told her that. He told her what exactly needed to be done. Once again, the pastor still refuses to do it. Then the woman says, "I'm tired of being blind. Jesus did this to heal a blind man. Are you better than Jesus?" Well, after she said that, Pastor Schambach said he felt convicted. Because he wasn't thinking about it in those terms. He was just thinking, ew, that's unsanitary, right? And this woman, she was firm, as I said. She was standing 10 toes down, not moving, not budging. She knew what needed to be done. And it was in those few moments that Pastor Schambach says he knew because of that conviction, and he just knew inside that that lady did hear from God and that this was legit and true. Well, eventually the pastor gets overcome with emotion and he begins to cry. And guess what? He does end up spitting in both eyes, and not one moment passed from that exact contact when he did that, when the magnificent power of God hit this woman, and immediately she had 20/20 vision. Blind for 38 years, and now she has 20/20 vision. I mean, it happened so fast, like the blink of an eye, no pun intended. That lady that day ran around that building just praising God. I mean, you can imagine. And I find it interesting because throughout the last few years, there's been a few other stories where the person gets healed and they immediately go running through a field or around a building or a church or whatever, wherever they are. It's just like they get so overcome with emotion and thankfulness and gratefulness that you just can't hide it. You just immediately begin praising God. And that's what happened that day with this woman. Pastor Schambach said he learned a lesson. Don't give up. He says, when God speaks, obey. Even if it doesn't make sense, even if you can't quite understand Why? Because God is looking for obedience and faith. And he said, at the end of the story, he talks about, thank goodness for strong women, because had that lady not just knew what God was telling her and stood her ground, would she be healed today? He said it's just amazing. And not only did the woman, as I said, get healed, but the pastor was convicted and learned about obedience and faith on a deeper level as well. So just a very cool story. I'd never heard one like this in regards to a blind person being healed by spit, honestly, other than the biblical story of Jesus doing so. So I just found this very intriguing and beautiful story. I hope you guys did too. I hope it was a blessing to hear. I pray for you guys that email me and request it. I just want to put that out there. I still got your names in my prayer journal, and I still pray for you ladies. So thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you for your support, and I hope you have an incredible week. I'm going to see you guys next time.